to everyone here. So we are having our first session on the online teaching strategy 1. So we are very happy to have Dr. Dicky and Ms. Mariana with us. And I think some of you who have joined us, you can actually use the chat box to just introduce yourself and share which school you're from, as well as what levels you teach. And yeah, so these are some information that you can just put it on the chat group. So it'll be nice for each of us here to just get to know everyone here better. Okay, so before I start, I'll just do a little introduction on today's session. I'm going to be sharing my screen where I will talk a little bit about today's session. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Are you seeing the presentation mode or the?
No, it's not presentation mode. So you need to present it.
Okay, yeah. So basically today's session is called the online teaching strategies. So whereby we will be exploring what are some of the challenges as well as how we can overcome them during this training session. And we will also be sharing a certificate of attendance to all participants within 3 working days. And also to let you know that this session will be recorded. There is also a Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom screen that you will see. So feel free to actually put in your Q&A so that both our speakers, Ms. Mariana as well as Dr. Dicky, will be able to address them. Later on, we will also be launching a poll question, so just feel free to answer that, and feel free to always use the chat group so that you can just keep the conversation going. Okay. Yep. So a little introduction of Dr. Dicky. He is actually the head of curriculum and instructional design at Kelvin Institute of Technology, where he develops and delivers pedagogical workshops and peer teaching review. He works closely with schools in designing mathematics curriculum, both for national as well as international standards. So he has been working very closely with the Ministry of Education, especially during this time where they have been, I think Dr. Dicky has been giving his input on what are some of the things that they can do during this COVID situation. He has also reviewed and revised the 2013 Indonesian National Curriculum, so he's very well versed with the curriculum. So in fact, when we were developing our resources, which I believe most of you are using, either the Amazing series or the Excel in series, Dr. Dicky has also helped us in running numerous trainings to equip the teachers to teach more effectively. So he has been doing that with us for at least 3 years. So we've been very happy to have him help us with that. So next we have Ms. Mariana. So she has over 20 years of experience in teaching primary and middle school sciences, as well as high school, using the Indonesian curriculum and international curriculum. He has more than 10 years of experience in training teachers in Indonesia as well. So he works closely with schools in designing science curriculum that covers both international and national curriculum. So I think most of you would have, who are using our resources would have recognized that our resources actually have dual curriculum, and Ms. Mariana has also been with us for at least 3 years, where she has helped us to actually look at how these resources can be used more effectively and how using the dual curriculum can be done in the classroom, and how our resources will be able to assist the teachers here. So Okay, I shall now hand over the time to Dr. Dicky and Miss Mariana. So before that, I think I have not actually introduced myself. So I'm Yong. I'm actually from Malaysia. So where the Oxford University Press actually for Southeast Asia, we are actually based in Malaysia. However, we also have our colleagues who are with us today who is actually based in Indonesia. So for example, I think I've got a colleague who's sitting in the midst of you here, who will be able to answer questions if you have anything pertaining to any question that you want support from Indonesian colleagues, they are there. So I shall now pass the time to Dr. Dicky and Miss Mariana.
Good, thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
So can I just launch the poll? So if
yeah, sure.
A very quick one. So I think Dr. Dicky, you can just continue while this poll is running. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. I know this is probably this time for you to actually supposed to rest after teaching for an entire week. So you're tired, but thank you very much for attending this morning. So this morning will be a little bit different compared to some of the other sessions that you may have attended before. So instead of having like a one way of presenting, so this morning, Ibu Mariana and I will be having a more casual conversation and talking, sort of like a talk show. So it will be more engaging. So we hope that feel free if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and you can post your questions. Yeah, but it will be a very relaxed conversational style. So I hope that you'll be able to really enjoy and try get as much as possible from this morning. So, Gumarena, go ahead if you want to introduce yourself. Say hi to everyone. You're still muted.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Good morning. It's nice to meet you on this Saturday morning. So, like Pak Dicky said, that this will be a casual and relaxed talk show. So hopefully you can get something, or probably we also learn from you how to conduct teaching and learning during this pandemic time, especially because we are doing now online learning. So we work together, yeah, all of us here. Thank you.
Okay, good. So I can see the result of the poll. We have like a 50-50%. So 50% have attended before in the last month, and then 50% are new to this. Okay, so we have a mix-up audience. That's okay. All right, so we'll just get started. So Bu Mariana, I'm sure everyone agrees that this is a very challenging time for teachers during this pandemic. But at the same time, I think it's a very good opportunity for us to rethink about teaching and learning in this era. So there are a lot of things I think we can do. I hope that you would like to share some of your insights. Why do you think that this is a good opportunity? And what can we do as educators in this time?
Okay, thank you for the question, Pak Dicky. So for me, this pandemic situation is a blessing because I can do two things. One is I make my own YouTube channel. It is okay, then I can share my videos there. Actually, I was not really good in technology, but now I have to learn about technology or using technology. And then the other one, I think this is the most important thing. I could teach 3 classes regularly because before I cannot do that. I'm so busy to travel from one city to another city to train the teachers. So I can stay and teach 3 classes, one secondary school and the other 2 is for year 10 and year 11. And then I find that it's very interesting to teach the students in this online education, online learning, because it's so challenging. We need to be creative. We need to be flexible, and then we can do many things to deal with the curriculum, with the learning outcomes, and so on. And I think we will discuss further about this, ya, Pak Diki, ya?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Is that enough, or do you want to ask another question?
So you mentioned, so before this, I suppose that you never had a experience teaching online, right? So this is
Yes,
actually
yes,
first.
yes, yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so what like initially, what did you experience? Like, how did you feel in the beginning when you're starting to learn this new technology, new platform? So how did you feel?
Yes, uh, a little bit nervous, yeah, because
Yes.
I'm quite old, yeah. So I'm, so we say it in bahasa jadul, yeah, like that. But we have to learn, yeah, and then it's quite challenging for me, yeah, because we know in the digital people, there are two types of digital people, immigrant and native digital. And I think I am the immigrant one, yeah. But I learn from my colleagues, I learn from young people how to use technology. So never stop learning. That's the key of developing yourself. Never stop learning, never being satisfied with what you have, because
Right.
you can go further, further and further. And like our topic or our theme, beyond the boundaries. We can go beyond our boundaries, and it's a lot of opportunity for this situation.
Yeah, so for our audience here who are younger teachers, I'm sure they are all younger than us, right, Bu Mariana? So if we can do it, the older generation, we are sure you can do it as well.
They can do much better.
Much better than us.
Much
Right?
better than us, yes.
Yeah, so talking about beyond boundaries, so I think you mentioned about the classes that you're teaching is actually far away from you, right? So it's not in the same place, city, and
Yes.
yeah, okay, it's a different place. Okay, so so that's also the opportunity. I think a lot of us would agree that now we don't have to commute, right, a lot. So we avoided a lot of the bad traffic, especially for those of us who are in Jakarta. That's the nice thing, right? So aside from the flexibility in terms of we can teach everywhere, right? We can teach students from anywhere around, even around the world. What else do you think that that it is a good opportunity for us to rethink about teaching and learning in the context of online learning?
Okay, thank you. First is that we cannot cover all the KD, yeah. We cannot cover all of those things because it's too much, yeah. Even in the normal situation, it's quite challenging to cover all KD, yeah. And then now we know that, as you know, yeah, Pak Diki, yesterday announcement from the Ministry of Education. Can you share for us first 3 policies of the Ministry of Education regarding the KD?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you share it, Pak Diki? Because Pak Diki,
Actually, I was involved. I was involved in the team that sort of pick and choose the KD. Ya, jadi saya juga termasuk dalam tim yang memilah ya. Jadi kemarin Bapak Ibu kan sudah mendapatkan ya kurikulum darurat. So you can see that from, let's say, some of the grade level, usually they have like 13 or 12, 13 KDs. Now it's cut almost half. Yeah, so that's one good news. We are given the flexibility in terms of we don't have to teach everything, because it's almost impossible to do that. And also yesterday it was launched from the Pak Menteri, Mas Menteri, for about the module, right? So actually Mariana and I were also involved in creating the literacy for the primary level. So that's another opportunity for us to really rethink, like we don't have to teach everything. Yeah, we can choose what's important, what's essential. And I think the good news also for us as teachers, we don't have to teach all subjects, especially in the primary. Usually we have like how many? 11 subjects? 10, 11 subjects. Now, actually, you only have to teach two, right? Literacy and numeracy. But inside those, of course, you still have to, there are some topics that's related to science. There are topics related to social science, to like other aspects that are also important. But now actually we are given the flexibility to really focus on a lot of more important things, especially in this time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is actually very good for us, a very good time for us.
Yeah. So what interesting for me is because I teach now, I'm teaching now year 7. It's for the first time they study physics actually. It's very interesting for me, even though I have to do online, because I can compress the material, but also I can combine with other subject, also with what you call lintas pelajaran, ya, across eventually across the subject, let's say science and math. And then but at the same time, I can develop what I think this is essential. Sometimes we skip it, we ignore it because we think this is just memorizing, not like that. So we really can focus on what important and essential for the students to develop themselves. Because once again, the goal of education, as teachers, as educators, we need to have strong foundation. What our goals for the students, that's driving us to do the best for the students. That's my opinion.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I think it's because now we don't have to teach so many topics. We don't have to cover everything. We can spend more time on those important topics. So I think one thing that we as teachers need to reconsider is, well, teaching is not just about telling, right? Teaching is not just about posting information, especially now we are moving to online. So we cannot just put our stuff, our materials that usually we teach it like on the blackboard or using PowerPoint and then just moving that now everything online and then expect students to learn. Because I think learning is more challenging. It's not just looking at the information, reading the information, but there's more that's going on, right? So I'm sure, Mariana, you agree that teaching involves more than just telling.
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
agree.
what are the things that you do when you're teaching science so that to make sure that students understand?
You mean online?
Yeah, especially online, but in normal class, but especially online. Yeah.
Yes, we have always to check their understanding. Yeah, but once again, teaching science means you teach your students to think as scientists and to do as scientists. That's very important. It's not just about delivering the content. So you have to know conductor and insulators. You have to know the photosynthesis. It's just knowledge, right? It's more than delivering the content or the knowledge. It's more than that. It's about how to shape their thinking, how to make them think critically and creative. This is the point, very important point. So you use your material or content to shape their thinking. So that's why key questioning is very important. The question that you ask the students, very important. You have to design the questions, because by having those questions, you can get students' misunderstanding or misconception. So that's why you have to choose the questions, and then it works in online. I like to share my experience. I was very glad with this online class. So this is year 7. I didn't know all the students. They were new for me. Some I knew from the primary school. But what makes me happy? What made me happy for the first class for year 7? I'm teaching 2 classes, one in Pekanbaru and another one in Timika on the same day.
Okay,
Yeah.
so opposite ends of Indonesia.
Yeah, I don't know they. I don't know really them. Yeah, because they are new for me. But what made me very happy is in the first class. It means 2 weeks ago, they were happy with the class, and I'm so happy. Physics class is one of the class that they are eager to learn. They can hardly wait to meet the class. Yeah, yesterday I got a WhatsApp from a parent, yeah, from a mother. she told me that her son kept on looking at the clock because yesterday my class at 10:30 and he kept looking at the clock. So he hoped that the class will soon begin.
So
That's
he's
my
very
example.
waiting,
Very,
anticipating for the
yeah.
class to start. Okay.
So actually this is, I mean, online class is, online class makes you happy, make
Right.
you very enthusiastic. So it's not, I think it's not a burden or a lot for the teachers. It's really challenging, ya Pak Diki, ya.
Yes.
It's really, you have to take the opportunity, take this opportunity, especially if you have rich resources, yeah. If you have so many resources, there is no point to say that this is not a good one. It's really a good one, and you will become a much better teacher after this pandemic. I really believe in that. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm interested. So you were saying that when we are teaching science to students, we are not just teaching a subject and then just hand it over to students, but actually we are teaching students to become scientists, right?
Yeah.
So can you say a little bit more? Okay, so what kind of characteristics that you want to develop in the students as young scientists?
Okay.
So how do you do that in the classroom, like especially online? That's challenging.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's just I share my experience with the class. Yeah. Okay, let's say because science, I think it's the same as math. It's about concepts and principles and laws. Yeah. So once the students master the concepts, the principles of the laws, then they can develop many many problems around that principles or concepts. The problem is sometimes the students do not have broader mind because they are not quite firm. They are not firm in keeping the concepts or holding the concepts or the principles. Yeah. Like I give you an example, a very simple example. You know the prefix in science, right? We have kilo, milli, centi, deci, giga, and so on. And then the student is just familiar with kilogram or kilometer, right? They don't have other types of units regarding kilo, only kilogram and kilometer. Then I'm asking them, can I say kiloseconds? Then they get confused. It's a very simple question.
Right.
Can you say 10 kiloseconds? Can you say, then they get confused. They said, we are confused, miss, we are confused. We don't know how to answer these questions. Before I have already explained that it's just a prefix. It's just what you call, it's just how to say this kind of number, yeah. It's just a prefix, yeah. But they get confused. That is a very simple practice. And then we know that because they are just familiar with kilogram and kilometer, yeah. That's a simple question, yeah, Pak Diki, yeah.
Yeah, so what I can get from what you're saying is you want to really engage the students in their thinking.
Yes.
So it's not just telling them information, it's not just giving them, okay, this is the knowledge, but by asking good question, so sort of like an inquiry base, so what would really challenge their mind? So what will make them, okay, why is it this? They make them really think about it. So I think as teachers, that's a very important skill that we need to have is asking good questions.
Yes.
Okay, asking questions that really make our students think.
Yes.
And think deeply. Yeah, I think that's also true in mathematics. Yes. One of the things that I really like in teaching math is we don't really have to, the standard way of teaching math is the teacher comes in, okay, so today we're going to learn about fraction, and then the teacher will then explain about what fraction is, and then telling them, okay, this is how you do it. So instead of doing that, actually, there's a different approach you can do. Okay, meaning that you can give them a situation. Okay, so here I have a piece of cake or pizza, and I want to divide equally among several number of people. Like, how do you do that? So just giving that time to think and a task, something that will trigger. Okay, yeah. So how do I divide this piece of cake equally? Let's say the shape. It doesn't have to be round. It can be any different shape, right? And that makes them really think, okay, so how can I do it different ways that I can come up to divide the same piece into equal parts? So that way they start thinking about it, and we don't even have to talk about fraction at that point. Just let them do it, okay? And then later we can sort of ask them about the ideas and introduce them to the idea of fraction. So I think that's a very smooth way, and it's very relevant to them. So it's not something that's abstract. They're not looking at these two numbers that are placed one above and one below. So that makes it more interesting, and then they are also more engaged in that. So I think that's something that I would recommend, okay, teachers here, both science and math, to really think about the situation, a question, something that will really spark students' interest and their motivation to try to find out what the answer is. So, yes. All right. So yeah. Another thing that I know, I heard from what you were saying earlier, Bu Mariana, is that your students were very interested, right? They even waited. Okay. Oh, it's gonna start. Okay. So can you tell us more specifically, what are the things that make them interested in attending your class?
Okay. Thank you. The other beside questioning is, I always give them simple activity, physical activity, I mean, during the synchronous learning. So while having like this, Zoom or Google Meet, I always give them a simple activity that they can do. So that makes them interesting. Such as, because the first topic was measuring, I told them, please measure the length of the room, or let's say the length of the table. I asked them first, measure the length of the table or the length of the chair, whatever things that you have around you, yeah? But using your thumb or using your little finger, yeah, that's interesting for them. Oh, that's fine. Then I give them more challenging tests. Now, how do you measure your, let's say, your living room using your finger or so? And then they start to think. And then, yeah, because it's very small.
Tiring, yeah.
Yes, yeah. That was actually, the idea actually came from last year seminar, yeah, from OUP also, yeah. That was from one of the facilitator, yeah, the trainer, yeah. Okay, then they start to think, yeah, that it's time consuming. It's time consuming. They said it won't be accurate. Then in the middle of explanation, one of the students suddenly opened the speaker and said, I know, Miss, I'm gonna use a broom to measure the length of the room. And then I said, what is the relationship between the broom and your finger? And then 2 or 3 students, they just want to speak up, and they said, I know. Then you have to know how many fingers for one broom. That was very exciting.
Right, so they get into the idea of transitivity, right? So
yes, you have physical activity. Okay. Yes, I agree. I think in math also the same. You cannot just keep on talking. That's absolutely not working. You have to give them some simple hands-on. Yeah.
Yeah, so even in the normal classroom, if we keep talking, the students also sometimes they will be distracted. They're thinking of something else, and especially it becomes more challenging online. We cannot look at every student, whether they're paying attention. So I think that's a really good idea that we as teachers need to think of activities that they can do, right? So I think that also addressed the concern of some parents are very concerned because their children are spending so much time on screen. Right? So I think that's one way we as teachers can think of activities that they can do so they don't have to be on screen all the time. Right? So I think that's true also for math. I think you can find some activities. So for example, the measuring also that works for math in the lower grades because they are also learning about measurement using non-standard unit and also measuring using standard units. And I think we can also ask them to look for things that's around them, right? So let's say if you're learning about shapes, then they can start looking around them and find. So you can do like a treasure hunt or a scavenger hunt. Okay, can you find an object with this particular shape? Can you find another object that has a different shape? And then later they can start comparing those objects. So you want to engage, especially in this situation in the home learning, you want to think of what are the things that the students can actually do at home. And I think, especially in your case, Bu Mariana, science, because part of science is they need to do experiments, right? So how do you deal with that situation where now they don't have the lab in the school, they are at home? So what's your recommendation for science teachers to conduct science experiments?
Okay. Well, let's say for now, I just give them let's say physical test. Yeah, not yet. I have not yet given them lab that is related to technology or digital. Let's say virtual lab. But another interesting thing that they can do is I give them assignment at home. Yeah, they have to measure the length of tibia, ya, tibia or femur, berarti tulang paha atau tulang kering. And then there is a relationship between the length of the tibia or femur with the height of an adult. Yeah, that's the way what anthropologists work. How to know the height of a person if they found the bones. Yeah, then I give them. So I give them a task to measure the length of the bones and then also measure the height of the adults. Yeah. For time being, I just do the physical, not yet with the technology. Probably later. Yeah. Because they have to be skilled first. Yeah. Using their hands. Yeah. Their motoric.
Yeah, and then later, once they are more developed in terms of their motoric skills, yeah, they can get into more advanced, right, science experiments. Okay. All right. So audience, if you have any questions, feel free to type in chat. So while we're still going on. So at any time, feel free to type in any questions that you might have. But later on, we'll also have a breakout sessions. So Ibu Mariana will be working with science teachers. If you have more specific questions about science, then there's opportunity to ask in that breakout session as well. And then I'll lead with the math.
Because
all right, Bu Mariana, one of the things that is challenging as well is making sure the students are learning at home, right?
Yeah.
If it is in the classroom, then we can check. So we can check their work. We can sort of see if they're doing their work. But now they're at home. So how can we make sure that our students are still learning at home?
Okay, thank you for the question. It's really a good question. One is that they done the task that I asked. So for this test, it's like measuring their parents' bones and height, right? So they have done that. It means that they have learned at home, yeah. And then the second is when we have synchronous learning, then if I ask the question that was explained from the previous class and they could answer it, it means that they have learned. So then I also asked them to write some of the textbooks, yeah, because these schools are not English-speaking schools, yeah. So they use Bahasa Indonesia textbooks, yeah, yeah. But even Bahasa Indonesia or bilingual or English schools, English-speaking schools, you can do the same. The principle is the same, yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you is that we really need to do a lot of formative assessment.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So in the normal situation, it's important for us to conduct formative assessment, but all the more when it is in an online setting, we need to constantly conduct formative assessment. Can you share some of the ways that you conduct formative assessment? If you can think of any tools, especially online tools that will help with the formative assessment. Can you
yeah.
share some of ideas maybe with others, with the science teachers and math teachers here?
Okay. So I plan to use Google Form because until now I'm just using a chat. Actually, just to check their understanding, I'm using the chat box. Yeah. I plan to give them yes, let's say the formal formative assessment, but probably next week. Yeah.
Yeah, so one way you can use Google Form, right? And then I'm sure teachers here, you're familiar with Kahoot. Anyone here have used Kahoot before? Yes? Okay. So if you haven't used Kahoot, I really, really encourage you try it. It's a free online sort of game-like question and answer. So you can post questions, and the free version allows you to have multiple choice answers or a true or false answers. So like quickly while you're teaching, you can just have them you can post the questions, get into Kahoot, and then right away you can see the responses, how many percent answered A, how many percent answered B, and so on. So right away you can see, oh, okay, let's say half of the class answered incorrectly. So it means that they haven't really understood the ideas. So that's one way. Or some schools use Quizlet. So there are other options, Kahoot, Quizlet, Socrative. All those make it more like a gamification, like a game-like situation, and students are really engaged. So feel free to explore. I think those are very good tools as teachers in this online situation to have. It's very easy to use. You can just create questions, create the choices, and then just there will be a link for the students to get into. So I'm sure some of you are already really quite experienced with Kahoot. Yeah. So another idea is I've used in the math is also for students to look at what is called Edpuzzle. How many of you have heard about Edpuzzle? Okay, so let me just quickly show you because I think this is very, very, very cool. Let me just share my screen first. Edpuzzle. Okay, here you go. All right. Well, this is not math, but you can actually find videos, math-related videos here. So this is about let me just search. That's something that's related to math. Oh, okay, I have to log in first. So again, it's also free. So the nice thing, everything that it's here is free. So I can choose, let's say I want to teach about fractions, right? So let me just find a video. Okay, I find a video. Someone else have created a fraction video. So it's about converting a mixed fraction into an improper fractions. So you can see that under this video, there are all these droplets, right? Those are questions. So let's say let me play it. If you can.
Today we are learning how to change a mixed number, the improper fraction, 9 1/2 as an improper fraction. First, we're going to draw out this mixed number. Which of these is the correct way to draw 3 1/2?
Okay, so after that, right away, you can actually create a question. So which of this shows 3 1/2? And then students can answer. Well, let's do it incorrectly first. Okay, so let's say if I submit, okay, and then, oh, it's wrong. So that's a very good way of formative assessment. So students now know, oh, okay, it's wrong. So it means that I didn't quite understand what I just watched. So I can go back and rewatch that part. Okay, jadi saya bisa nonton kembali. Oh ya, tadi ada apa ya yang masih saya belum terlalu ngerti. Okay, and then if I answer correctly, actually they show you the answer, so you can continue watching the video.
As 3 squares.
So you can put as many questions as you like. So after a particular part on the video, you can then post a question, and then the question can be in the form of multiple choice, but it also can be in the form of open-ended questions. And they can also put notes. If you want, they can stop there and then there's opportunity for them to write notes, right? So the nice thing is you can either find a video that's already been created, or you can pull one from YouTube anywhere, and then you can just embed the questions there. Okay, so that's a very good way. Or you can create your own video. You create your own video, you record your video teaching using Google Slide or PowerPoint or anything, and then you put it here and then you post question. That's a way for us to formatively assess the students. And the nice thing about it is, let's say you find a video outside there, but let's say you're teaching in Indonesian and these videos are in English. The nice thing is you can do a voiceover. You can record yourself, ya, jadi bisa merekam suara sendiri menimpa suara yang tadi. Jadi bisa dalam bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa daerah jika mau juga bisa. Now, so you can start recording, you can put in post questions, you can even cut videos. Let's say you have a very long video, you just want to show the students one part of it and ask questions. So you can do it very easily, very easily. And the nice thing is, if you're using Google Classroom, I'm sure a lot of teachers here are using Google Classroom. This is actually integrated. You can create a class list and then integrate it with the Google Classroom. So your students list will be imported here, and then you can actually give grades. And it's already connected to Google Classroom. So that's, I think this is a very, very powerful tools for teachers, because in an online setting, we don't know if the students are learning or not. So this is a very good way for us to formatively assess students' understanding, and then they can rewatch the video as many times as they want until they really get the idea. So have you used these tools before, Bu Mariana?
Not yet.
Okay, I recommend this.
Yes, thank you so much.
It
I'm
can work
use
for
it.
any subjects, yeah, even in science. So let's say you share about idea about physics, like about gravity, and then you pose a question.
Thank you.
Right, and then they stop, and then they answer, and then they can continue.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Pak Diki, you have a question, Pak Diki, in the chat box?
Yeah. So I would like to ask if you know an apps that we can use for students to type exponents in G form. Okay, yeah, that's a very good question, and I don't think I have used Google Form for, Google Form and Google. One of the downside is it doesn't have a latex, or any equation editors embedded. That's a challenge. So unfortunately, I have to think about it, and come back maybe next time to really answer that question. So the LMS that I'm using is actually Canvas, and inside Canvas actually has a latex editor. So you might want to explore if latex, so LATEX. So that's a very good tool if you are working with a lot of formulas. Yeah, so I think science and math, we work with a lot of formulas, equations. So try to explore if that can be exported. Okay, yeah. So that's the best we could do, just to, in a situation where you don't have the math editor, then you use that symbol, the hat symbol, as an exponent. Yeah, sometimes it can get confusing, I know. But so I would suggest that you explore latex and see if you can. So what you can do in latex, you can create the equation and then you can save it as an image. And then in an image form, then you can embed it in the Google form. So I think that's my best advice. What different between Kahoot and quizzes? They're similar, they're almost the same. So the idea is the same. You post questions and then students create. So it's just a different platform. I myself haven't really used Quizlet. I use more of Kahoot because there is I don't know, does Quizlet have a music? Kahoot has a background music, and then I like the colors and everything. But basically the idea is the same. Okay. All right. So I think actually we have a question for Bu Mariana.
Okay, thank you.
Has shared any idea to replace practical?
Yeah, okay, thank you. I forget. Yesterday, actually, I did vernier caliper and for vernier caliper first, vernier caliper simulation. Yeah, you can find that for vernier caliper simulation. It's easy to find it vernier caliper simulation because the students cannot have that thing, yeah, vernier caliper, because it was at school. So you can use that for vernier caliper simulation. Also, virtual lab also can be virtual tour, field trip, yeah, virtual tour, field trip, like going to botany garden and so on. Yeah, these are examples of using.
Yeah, so I think there are some like simulation lab, right, online.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, although I don't know if they are free, because I do know some you have to pay, like Simolab. Simolab is a online version, and then there is a FAT, like PHET.
Yeah, yeah, it's free, Pak.
So, yeah,
you can find free ones. You can find.
So if you Google search,
just type
PHET.
Yeah.
Simulation, you will find a link that they have a lot of like a virtual sort of lab simulation, and you can use with your students.
Yes.
Okay, but, and we have,
Pak Diki, can I say something? But we have to be careful that technology do not replace teachers. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Technology is not replacing the teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm sure everyone here agrees, right? Technology does not replace teacher. Otherwise, we don't need to be here.
Yes.
We become obsolete, right? Irrelevant anymore. Yeah, but I think technology is a tool, right? Technology is something, we'll talk about a framework called TPAC. But I think technology definitely cannot replace teacher. There are a lot of things that we still need the teachers to engage the students, to really understand what the students are struggling and working and how to help them. Yeah, we have a question from Pa Vincentius about, I'm not quite getting what your question is. There is the link with Google. So for example, the Edpuzzle is actually not a Google product, but it can be linked with Google Classroom. So some of the apps, because those apps developer think, they see that a lot of teachers are using Google Classroom. So they sometimes would develop the capability for integration with the Google Classroom. So I'm not quite getting what your question is. What if the application is linked with other applications that are not from Google products? Yeah, so I mean that first, I think try to find the ones that are synchronized with Google, because it will make your life easier, because you don't have to go to all these different places, right? This app, that app. I think that's one of the challenges now as teachers. We need to develop the capability to manage different applications. That's a new skill that we need to develop. Not only we teach and manage the students, now we need to manage all these applications. We use these apps for this purpose, another app for another purpose. So how to make sure that everything is together in line. That's a very challenging aspect.
Diki, just to remind that for the next webinar we will implement, right? We will do some workshop, yeah, Pak Diki, regarding planning the lesson and so on, and also
so make sure to come to the next webinar, because we'll do more hands-on, and we'll talk about assessment as well. Especially we'll talk about I don't know, for math I'll be discussing about the AKM. So some of you have heard about AKM, Assessment Competency Minimum. Right, so that replace the UN. Jadi sekarang kan kita tidak ada UN lagi, tapi ada AKM. Nah, jadi apa yang berubah? Saya nggak tahu Bapak Ibu sampai sejauh mana sudah memahami tentang AKM. Yeah, so how many of you have already explored what the new assessment is? But in the next webinar, we'll be discussing some aspect of that and how we can help our students to do well in the assessment.
Yeah. Okay. Can I answer the question from
Yeah, from Miss or Mr.
Miss or
Miss Josina.
yeah, okay. I face the same thing. No response, right? I was asking them and no response. Then I learned about waiting time, wait time. So we have to be patient. Yeah, we have to be patient. I want to share my experience too around last week. Yeah, but this is for year 10. I was teaching physics for scientific method. Yeah, and then the response, I have to wait for the response, right? And then I have to be patient. But then I was very glad because at the end of the lesson, when I asked them a question, then they could answer it. Yeah. So if your students did not respond, do not think that they don't pay attention or they don't understand. It needs time. Yeah. That's my experience. So you have always to check their understanding, but you have to be patient. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think my question going back to Ms. Josina is, how did you ask the question, right? So the difference is, even in a normal class, when we ask a question, normally we will have one or two students who are usually active, they will respond, right? And even worse, in the online situation, we ask a general question to everyone, or we ask a specific question to everyone, and then everyone is just waiting. Okay, so instead of asking a question and asking for volunteer, so that's a word, right? Usually when we ask a question, we are asking for anyone wants to volunteer to answer the question. Okay, and a lot of times nobody volunteered, right? Because the more challenging the question, the higher the risk for them to be wrong. And I'm sure everyone doesn't like to be wrong. Okay, especially with children, with students, especially with like teenagers, right? They don't want to be wrong because the pressure is pretty high. They don't want to seem to be stupid or dumb in front of their peers. Okay, so now the key is, instead of asking a question and then asking for volunteer, you are making them to everyone to answer the question. And the good thing is, with technology online, you can do that. In the classroom, you cannot expect everyone to answer at the same time, right? It's going to be a chaos. But in the online setting, once you pose a questions, you then ask them to write their response. Either if you're using Zoom, right, it means that they can type in Zoom. I don't really like Zoom chat box because now you have to scroll up and down to read. That's a lot, right? And then it's also it's also not anonymous, but there are applications. For example, I really like either you can use a Google Doc, or you can also use a Google Jamboard if you want something that's related to Google, and then they can actually post like a post-it note of their answer. Or another option is use Padlet. Okay, I'm not sure if everyone knows. Let me just show you quickly what a Padlet is. So a Padlet is basically like a bulletin board, right? A bulletin board, and you can again quickly create an account. Is free for a couple of slides for the free version. And then from there, you can actually, so this is from one of my, let me just show you, right? So I can post a question. So let's say here I post a cartoon, and then I want them to, okay, share your thoughts about these cartoons, right? So what they did is they just click under here, and either anonymous, or they can also type in their name, so that they can respond. And then I can check and see, okay, who has responded, who has not. So I'm making it compulsory for them to answer a question, not optional. Because if we give them the choice not to answer, then most likely they don't want to answer it, right? But because we want them to answer it, so we make sure, okay, everyone make sure you type in your answer. And the nice thing also about the online, because in the real setting, once one student's commented, well, sometimes you can ask other students to, okay, what are your thoughts? But here they can actually comment on other people's comment.
Mm.
So the interaction can happen there, right? Because we want the students to be engaged, to interact with one another. So actually they can do this in this kind of platform. You can also use it at Google Doc as well. Okay, Google Doc, you type in the question, they have to type in their answer, and then they can respond. Okay, so I think the key is just to make sure that it's not optional for them to answer. You want them to answer, and it's okay to answer whatever that their thoughts or their understanding, because you want to make sure that that's for you want to use that for you as teachers to help them. So you want to communicate that this is used for me as a teacher so that I know whether you have understood, so I can help you. So given that, students are more likely to participate. Okay. All right. So
Pak Diki, it can
yes.
be more specific, yeah, in the next webinar, yeah, of choosing.
Yes. Yes.
choosing the
I hope that in the next webinar you will get to experience all this different technology from. So right now I'm just telling you. So next time we'll try it hands-on. We'll experience it, okay, and see how that works for you and how you can use it in your classroom. All right. So let me go to the next question, Bu Mariana. Yeah.
Yes.
So earlier at the beginning of the webinar, we already talked a little bit about, well, in this time we need to select, right? Not all the KDs, yeah, the kompetensi dasar, not all the learning outcomes has to be covered. Okay, so yesterday the Ministry of Education already launched the curriculum darurat, right? So it gives you a guideline, but again, that's optional. It means that not if your school don't want to implement that, it's fine, right? But I think in that case, as teachers, we need to still have the capability of selecting what's important. So what are your criteria or guideline for teachers, let's say, when they look at the whole KD, right?
Yes.
Learning outcomes, whether some of us here are using only the curriculum 13, some are using a combined, right? For those who are adopting the amazing math and the Excel math, amazing science, Excel science, you have two different curricula. You have the K13, the national one, and also the Cambridge. So there's just a lot, right? So how would you suggest teachers how to pick what's the most important?
Okay, there are two things that we need to consider. The first is the essential, the more important and urgent for the students. And the other one, is it a requirement for the next step or for the next grade or for the next semesters? And also these things go along with the policy of Ministry of Education of Indonesia. Yeah. So for me, let's say I show you, yeah, I share screen, yeah. Okay, can I share screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
This one. Okay. Okay, let's say this is for
not
grade
showing
7.
anything, Bu Mariana.
Yeah?
I don't think it shows anything.
Oh, really? Wait.
I don't know.
I see it. I see mapping the curriculum.
Oh, okay. All right. It's just me. Never mind. Just continue. I'll figure this out. It's not showing.
Wait.
Oh, okay. So I see it now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is for. Wait. This is for primary school. Okay. Let's say I take this for year 7. Actually, I have already told about this in the previous webinar, but that's fine.
Yeah, we have about 50%.
Yeah, okay. Let's say this for grade 7, this is biology, yeah. classification, yeah, classifying living things and non-living things based on the characteristic, yeah, that are observed, yeah. Okay, so you have here, let's say, this is about living things and their characteristics, yeah. Then we have another is this one, yeah, this one. 3.6 is about the organization of the cell, yeah, from cell, tissue, organ, and system of organ. So actually, you can combine this in the classification of living things, because actually one characteristic of the living things is having cells, yeah, having cells. So you can combine it, yeah. So you make it, you compress it, yeah. That's one thing. The second thing is, that's why I find very interesting of the resources, yeah, because I went through the resources and it's really a rich resource, yeah. And then also when you have to choose among these living things, because there are several living things, there are several kingdoms, right? There are animals, plantae, fungi, monera, yeah, and protista. You have to select which one that you want to focus on. Then I suggest that you need to focus on bacteria, because bacteria is very close to their lives compared to, let's say, vertebrate, okay, vertebrate also, or other animals. So you have to choose that, yeah. So from the living things, they learn about the classification broader, general, but you focus on certain living things that are closely to the students, and then also you can explain about the cell and the organization of the cell. So by doing this, you compress 2 KD into 1. And then also, if you use another curriculum, let's say not Indonesia curriculum, then you can combine it, you put it, you insert it. So it will be one way along. Yeah, that's an example. So, but another thing that we need to consider is, let's say this is for measurement. So I've seen that some educators, they usually think, oh, this is just skip the measurement, skip the physical quantities, skip the units, because it's not so important. I think we have to fix about this. We need to spend more time on teaching measurement, physical quantities and units. Yeah, we have to spend more time, because it's closely related to the safety of human being. Yeah, so if you use different unit, because there is an example of using different unit that it can make to harm the people. Yeah. Okay, so you have to be flexible, you know which one are essential, yeah? And then let's say, okay, that's one. And then for year 7, let's say, look at this, yeah? This is the interaction of living things and their environment. And then also here you have, oh yeah, here, this is the interaction, 3.7. This is about the pollution. This is about the climate change. Actually, you can combine these 3. Yeah, you can combine these 3. You compress it. Yeah, you combine these 3 into one lesson. Not one lesson, actually, 1 unit of lesson. So that's the way you can handle the curriculum. So for primary, yeah, from primary, let's say year 4, yeah, year 4. Okay, okay. Let's say year 4, yeah. Okay, this one, this, you can combine these 2. Yeah, this is about types of forces, and then this is about the relationship between force and motion. You can combine these 2. Eventually, you can make it further by explaining energy. So actually, these 3 you can combine it into 1. It's like a continuation. It's a series. Is a series of concepts that related to each other. This is the example. I think we can be more specific in the next webinar, how to plan all these things. That's from me, Pak Diki. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Mariana. So I'm sure, if anyone would like to find out more about how to map the curriculum, then you know where to go. So Bu Mariana is the right person to discuss about this. All right, so I think we are 10:06. So should we go into breakout sessions, Bu Mariana?
Okay. Any more questions from the audience for the general questions?
The general question, or should we
Because...
talk a little bit about the TPAC first?
Okay. I think that's very important, Pak.
Okay, let's just share.
Yeah.
Okay, so TPAC, here's the picture about TPAC. So what is TPAC? So feel free, Bu Mariana, to jump in anytime. So this is actually a framework for us as teachers to think about teaching, right? So where as teachers, we need to know the content knowledge, that's for sure. So if you see the blue, sort of green, bluish circle, that's where you need to understand the content knowledge, the concept that you are teaching. But apparently it's not enough for us to know just the content. As teachers, we need to know the pedagogical knowledge, right? How to teach it. So let's say you want to teach about fractions, what's the general pedagogical knowledge that you need to choose, right? But the nice thing is that there's an intersection between, that's called the PCK, the pedagogical content knowledge. It means that it's a specific knowledge on how to teach the content. So first, let me give an example here. Let's say in math, you want to teach about fraction. Now, how would you first introduce fractions? So a lot of times, if you see back in the old days, the textbook will show, okay, here's a square, and then it's divided into two, and then one part is shaded, right? So that's normally how fraction is introduced. And then they will say, okay, there is one, the numerator is one because there's one that's shaded, and then you draw a line, and then two, the denominator, that's how many parts. Now, actually, the research showed that's actually not a good way of introducing, because there is a lot of misconceptions that students create, okay, when they are introduced this way. So one misconception is that, well, they start counting. They see that as two different numbers. The 1 and the 2 are two different numbers. They are not looking at fraction as a number itself. Okay, so there are a lot of problems associated. So the pedagogical content knowledge is, okay, how do I teach this concept so that students will understand and they do not create misconceptions about the concept. So that's what the pedagogical content knowledge. So this is actually the most important. So I think, so Lee Schulman is the one who developed this idea about pedagogical content knowledge. And I agree with him that this is the most, I think, if not, the most important content knowledge, the pedagogical content knowledge that teachers need to have so that it's effective in terms of helping students understand. Now with the technology, so here comes another circle. So not only content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge, teachers also now need to know the technological knowledge, the TK. And with that comes the different intersections with the content knowledge and then the pedagogical knowledge. So this seems like a complicated sort of diagram, but it actually is not. In practice, we actually maybe have been doing that already. So for example, when we choose a certain content, so what kind of tools can we use to help students to understand the content? So for example, if I want to teach students how to graph, well, obviously, the tools will be a graphing calculator or a graphing device, like online it can be Desmos. So that could be the tools, the technology. So how can I best teach the content? So how do I present the content? How do I understand the content? What tools, what technological tools can be used? So that's the intersection between the technological knowledge and the content knowledge. But then you get to the TPK, the technological pedagogical knowledge. So how do I teach this using technology? So for example, right now we are using a technology, okay, as a way to teach. So that's the technological pedagogical knowledge. How do technology support the pedagogy, right? So instead of me talking, right, I just talk, I use the presentation. So that's the technology to help me to convey my message, right? So that's the technological, pedagogical knowledge. But at the center, there's a technological, okay, this gets longer and longer, technological, pedagogical content knowledge, the TPAC. This is where it's an intersection of all three. So how can I deliver this content in the best way to make sure students understand with the help of technology? So basically that's the TPAC in a nutshell. So when we are teaching online, we really need to think about the center. Okay, what's the best tools? What's the best method of teaching method? And what kind of content is important? And I don't know, maybe in the breakout session, we might talk about it, or maybe next time. The technology actually changes a lot what we learn and how we learn. So that's something that we need to consider as teachers. But I'll leave it to that. So Bu Mariana, if you have anything else to add about this framework?
I think we can be more specific in the next webinar, yeah?
Okay.
Because it will be based on the level, yeah? Separated primary and secondary.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in that case, if there are no general questions, let's go into the breakout room. If Jingsen, can you push us into the 2 breakout rooms?
And then what time will be the end of breakout
a little
room?
before 10:30. So yeah, we'll have like 15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you can set 15 minutes for the breakout.
And then no need to go back to main room, yeah?
Yeah, we still go back. Yeah, it will automatically bring us back.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are hoping to in the breakout session have you. You can also share and talk. I hope to have more interactivity, right, in the breakout session. So not only us talking, we already talk a lot.
Okay.
Okay, if you can click join break.
Who is break?
Dr. Dicky, I can't. Okay, so it's random. I think it's no longer via subject. Ibu Mariana?
Yes?
Can you just check whether if your participants are based on subjects, because
only one breakout room.
So there are 2 breakout rooms. You are in one. Dr. Dicky is in another.
I just see breakout room 1. I have not seen breakout room 2.
Yeah, that's under Dr.
Oh,
Dicky.
this is here. Yeah, okay.
Correct. So can I just understand whether everyone here is for science teachers, because we have separated based on subjects, but I'm not sure whether it's done accordingly.
Okay, so?
Yeah. So I'll pass the time back to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, also in this breakout room is, so all the teachers here are science teachers, right? Yeah, science teachers. Okay, do you have any question regarding online learning, science online learning? Do you have any question? You can ask directly, or you can use chat box. You have? Okay. So if you don't have any question, I want to share with you my lesson. Yeah, but this is in Bahasa, so I will translate it. How I organize my lesson. Yeah, how I put the questions, how I put the activities. Yeah, but this is for year 7, so hopefully you can do it. Yeah, okay. At first, yeah, can you share some? Okay, I will share my lesson. This is my real lesson that I give to the students. Yeah. Wait, okay, here. Okay, this is my real lesson. Okay, this is about measurement, and this is the KD ya, 3.1. Okay, is there any one of you who cannot speak Bahasa? Because all my lessons are in Bahasa. Do you speak Bahasa, all of you here? Can you put in the chat box if you do not speak Bahasa? Yeah, because my lesson is in Bahasa, because I'm teaching not international schools, yeah. Okay, let me check here. Okay. Yeah, wait. Okay, this is the KD, yeah. And then this is the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes, yeah. I make short the learning outcomes, yeah. I said this is to conclude, yeah, to draw a conclusion, yeah, to draw conclusion, the relationship between measurement and physical quantities and the concepts of measurement. And then here to find the relationship between or among the units, and then to demonstrate the measurement techniques, yeah. And then the last one is the KD itself, yeah, because we have to put the KD into the learning outcomes. You can use the same language, I mean the same words, but also you can use different words, yeah. Okay, and this is for 4.1, yeah. I start with this question. I start with a picture. It's very powerful to use picture in your lesson, especially for the online. So I said, this is a rice field. What you need to measure the length of rice field, yeah? What you need to measure the length of the rice field. And then they have discussion, yeah? They said using ruler and so on. And then I said, if you don't have the ruler, what you should do? So I move to the next questions. Now you measure, how do you measure the length of rice field with your hand span? And then before I'm asking them, show me your hand span. And then they show the hand span, they open the video and they show their hand span. So I know that they understood about one hand span, satu jengkal. So what is the problem of using hand span to measure the length of the rice field? How do you overcome it? And they have discussion. So this was the first meeting, yeah, the first class with them. And this is, I show them the non-standard units, yeah. This is, I just put the one in Bahasa, jengkal, hasta, langkah, kaki, and depa. You have to check, make sure that they really understand what hasta means, what depa means. Sometimes they just say it, but they don't understand actually. So they have to show the meaning of hasta or depa, yeah, okay. And then this is the challenging, yeah, the challenge. Measure the length of the table with your little finger or with your thumb, yeah, or the things around you. I'm asking them to do this, and they did it, yeah, and then they put it in the chat box, oh, blah, 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 yeah. Then further challenge. Now measure the length of the room using your finger. Why? This is time consuming, yeah. It's too long. And then I said, you have to think about it. And then suddenly one of the students told me, I know, miss, I will use a broom to measure this room, and then the length of the room, and then I related the broom with the little finger. That's spontaneous in the lesson. That was spontaneous, yeah. But this case, fortunately, I have active kids in my class. So it's really interesting, it's really exciting to teach them. And then this is it possible? Then I asking them again, is it possible to answer the length of the room instead of your little finger, but you are using the broom? Is that possible? They said it's possible, because you have to measure one broom in how many little fingers, in the number of little fingers, yeah. This is the way. And then that work, yeah, okay. I didn't, if you pay attention, I didn't start with the definition of what is besaran. What is physical quantities? I didn't start with physical quantity. They have to have their sense first, their sense. Because what I experience is sometimes they just memorize. They don't have the experience with the physics, object or concept. So then I ask them, then I'm asking them, what did you measure? What I asked you to measure? Then they said that was the length. And I told them length is one of the physical quantity. Panjang adalah salah satu besaran. Then I go further. So how many chairs do you see here? How many tables do you see here? Then they said 3, 1, right? That's correct. And then I'm asking them, if I counting the number of the chairs of the table, does it mean that I measure? And then they get it. No, you don't measure it. Why? Because you don't use the measuring device. Because when I asking them, I was asking, because when I asked them, what did you measure? They say the length of the table, the length of the chair. What did you use to measure it? They said, I use my hand span, or I use my little finger, right? Then I reinforce again. So you use your finger or your hand span to measure the length of an object. And then I said the length is a physical quantity. And how do you know the length? Because you measure it. Then they can differentiate between counting and measuring. It's very important. So that's why I'm asking them, what is the difference between counting and measuring? These are the quick questions, very simple. Yeah. And then after that, they understood about what physical quantity is, what else that you can measure in your room. And they will have a lot of answers. So it's very engaging because they are active. They try to find out the objects around their home. Yeah. Okay. Then I said, then we discuss about the concepts of measurement. In order to measure, you need the measuring device. And then you can convert one unit to another unit. So after doing those things, then we will discuss about the concepts of measurement. Yeah. Okay. Then I write it once again. See, the length of the table is 38 little finger. And then I highlight once again, I emphasize what the physical quantity is. Length is physical quantity because you can measure it and it has a value or magnitude. But be careful that little finger is the measuring device, but also is a unit because you just use your little finger, right? So this is the way to build, to construct their understanding about the concept of measurement. Yeah. Okay. Then I go further. Yeah. Okay. I go further. I'm asking them, okay, is this a physical quantity or not? The height of the door, the color, the height of the door, the color of the door, the thickness of the door, and the texture of the wood, right? Then they can answer it because they know physical quantity is related to measurement. You have to measure and you know the value or the magnitude. And they can answer all these questions. This is physical quantity and this is also physical quantity. Then I go further. Yeah, then I said there are two types of observation. Quantitative observation and qualitative observation. This is wrong, yeah? It should be qualitative here and quantitative. Then I go further. After they understand about the physical quantity, I go further with the qualitative observation and the quantitative observation. Yeah, like this. The quantitatives are thickness, length, and the width of the wood, but the qualitative is the color and the texture. This is what I say, you can compress, you can make it into one. Yeah, you can make it, you make it as a story. So your lesson is like a story. Well, in order to make your lesson as a story, well, there is another way, you have to read a lot. Yeah, you have to read a lot. You have probably to discuss with your friends. Yeah. So this is the way I make many things that they have to know, but I make it into a story. Yeah. Okay. Then I go further. Yeah. So because I want to know, I want them to know that the way you write down your measurement depends on the measuring device that you use. So then I give them two types of ruler, yeah? And then I said, you have to make this is your own ruler. You make it your own ruler. This is your own ruler, make it. Use your book, use your paper, then they make it. So you see, in this lesson, this is only for one lesson. They can have more than one simple activity, yeah? Okay, then, oh, sorry, this is for the next lesson, yeah, sorry. This is for the next lesson. Then this is two types of ruler. This is very important because once again, the way you write down the result of measurement depends on the measuring device that you use. So I ask them to make this type of ruler, and then now I ask them again, measure your eraser, measure your pen. What's the problem? What is the problem of having these two types of rulers? And then they said, I cannot read this clearly, Bu. Ini nggak bisa, nggak jelas ini, Bu. I cannot. I don't know. But this is very clear for me how to write down the result. Yeah. Then this is my own ruler that I made. Yeah. I want there. They said this is two types, ruler A and ruler B. And then I teach them about the least count. Yeah. Ini skala terkecil, ya. Skala terkecilnya this is 1 cm and this is 0.1 cm, ya. And then further, I said it's more precise. Actually, we say more precise. B is more precise than A. They can answer this absolutely. I'm asking them, if I give you these two types of rulers, which one that you want to use it to measure? Then all of them said, I want the second ruler, Miss. Pokoknya mau pakai yang kedua, penggaris kedua. Saya mau pakai penggaris kedua. Kenapa? Karena ini lebih jelas, katanya seperti itu. That's what they say. Ya. Then I explain them what means skala terkecil, ya. And then one is more precise than the other. Ya. Okay. This is example. And then I said there is a difference between the least count, yeah, and then precision, yeah. Okay, that's one, yeah. Okay, then this one, and then I said, according to the scientists, the way you write down 14 and 14.0 is different, yeah, because the way you write down your result should be based on the precision of the measuring device. Okay, this is my lesson, and then and then because it's already 9:30, sorry, not 9:30, 10:30, but I will to end this, but I show you. Okay, this is another, maybe for the next webinar we can discuss this further, but this is another important thing that we have to teach in the science class is why do we need to learn about the physical quantity? Why is it so important? So the students will see the height of the kids in the room in the hospital, ya. Ini ukur tinggi anak. Another thing is the packages. The packages have certain sizes, right? Right? Okay. Another is the field. The soccer field have certain sizes, right? It's about the length. Only about the length. I'm focusing on the length. I will not explain the other physical quantities, yeah, later. But now I'm focusing on the length. So they have the sense of the length. Yeah, okay. Then I am asking them what else that have fields. Yeah, this one, and then the diameter of 2 more. Yeah, this is another example, the diameter of 2 more. And then this is what is the longest bone in the human body. And then this is the bones, these are the bones. How do you know the height of the person? By knowing the length of the bones, right? Here, yeah, you know the length, yeah, right? And this is the formula of counting, of calculating the height of a person based on the bones, right? And then this is anak tangga, yeah. Anak tangga to have certain size, yeah. And then this is the runway in the airport. It has certain sizes also. Why? Because it depends on the airplanes that land or that use or that take off from that airport. So these are examples of my lessons. Okay, thank you, because it's already 10:30. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, but Mariana, we're back.
Okay, thank you. Because I want to finish it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Mariana and Dr. Dicky. It's been a very insightful session, and I think this whole discussion is a lot more exciting, I think. So I think Dara has actually given his contact number. So Dara is actually our our reps based in Indonesia. So if you have any question relating to the resources that you have, either the Excel in or the Amazing, you can get in touch with him. So he has very kindly given us his WhatsApp number, so you can feel free to just hunt him down. Okay, so before we end, I'll just remind everyone about our session. We have 2 more sessions coming up next week. So basically what we have is on the 22nd of August, 2 weeks from now, we will have the secondary session. So if you are a secondary teacher, join the one on the 22nd of August. And then next week, which is on the 15th, we have the primary session. So if you are a primary teacher, join us for the primary session. So I believe you will have the link. It's the same link which was shared with you earlier to when you registered for the session. So we look forward to you joining us. So I guess that's about it. So Dr. Dicky and I think Mariana has also given us a flavor whereby next week we will go more in detail into the different platforms, as well as what are some of the tools that you can use. So I think it'll be a lot more hands-on, right, Dr. Dicky and Mariana?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if that's it for today, so if there's anything, just feel free to email us. I believe when you registered also, you would have my email addresses if you have any further question. Thank you and
all right,
good morning.
thank you, everyone.
See you next
Thanks,
week.
everyone.